Hi, this is Cindy Briggs, and I am sharing an experience with you from Provence. Daniel Smith sent me some of their new Daniel Smith extra fine watercolors, and I created this painting in my sketchbook. And while I was there, I videoed it for you. So I'm going to share that video today. One of my favorite colors that they sent is Daniel Smith extra fine watercolor in lavender. And I use this color in almost every painting that I do, including the one behind me that you see today. So I hope you enjoy this little video that I put together and get a sense of what it's like to be in such a beautiful village in the heart of Provence. All right, I've got all these new colors from Daniel Smith, and I'm going to use some of them today on my simple little project. But before I do that, I wanted to show you how to put your paints in the palette. You don't want to put just a little bit. You need to give yourself a generous amount. This is Lavender by Daniel Smith, and I'm super excited to use that here in Provence. And then this last one is Payne's Blue Gray. Ooh, it's coming out. I'm going to put it over here in the corner. Just a little bit. You'll see my full palette soon. I just wanted to share this. All right, we are going to paint this little window that I saw in Les Baux. I'm adding a little bit of buff titanium to my palette. I've got a new palette here of colors from Daniel Smith, and I've just put brand new color in there so you can see how much paint I add. And I am just going to start by mixing and mingling some, let's see, raw sienna light right over the walls and windows, some titanium buff. This is wet paint on dry paper. I got a little thick right there. That's all right. Let's try this Aussie red gold. Ooh, look at that. So we're gonna have some variation. I'm going around the flowers here. And I do want to add a little bit of lavender. And let's try some wisteria. That raw sienna light is exciting. It's a little more lavender. Lavender is one of my favorite colors. So I'm just going in and around where my flowers are so I can come back to that. And it's going to have some kind of glow there. And let's try a little wisteria up in here, and then down and around over here. So I want to show you a thirsty brush. You squeeze the water out, and then you can actually lift color back up while it's still wet. Let's say I want to just pull a little bit of that rock out, maybe that one. Do it right there so you can get an idea of how that works. It's very subtle, But when you're working on certain subjects, it can make a difference. All right, I have made sure this is completely dried. Means it's not cold to the touch anymore. It's completely dry before I start adding color. And I thought let's check and see what this burnt sienna light looks like. Oh, that's a good pot color. So I'm just going to use a little bit of that. There's nothing like working with fresh Daniel Smith watercolor. Let's see if I can. I'm liking this color. If you have a pot and you want to age it a little bit, you can drop in some of this new lavender color by Daniel Smith. Let's see, let's get some more color in there. So here's our pot. And I am going to add just a little lavender to give it some character. Spread it out a bit there. And I do like using a touch of green. I'll put a little green in that pot. There we go. Now, this is my main palette, all Daniel Smith watercolors. This was the Holbein Violet, but I'm replacing it, Holbein Lavender, but I'm replacing it with the Daniel Smith Lavender. And we're going to put a few flowers in these pots, even though in the original they're not there. And I thought it would be nice to add some, let's see, wisteria color and quinacridone lilac. Yeah, just a few touches of that. And notice there's no polka dots. It's about creating shapes that can be organic and relate to each other. Got some lavender color in here. Oh, I'm going to put a little bit of that over here too. There. I'm liking these colors. They're perfect for spring. So we'll just give that some life. There we go. So while those are drying, I can go to some other parts of the painting. Let's see. I want to get some nice darks back inside. And darks should be warm, generally, not cool. So they're more inviting and take you inside. So I'm using permanent brown back in here. And I may put a touch of that cool lavender in there for variation. But there we go. There's that dark taking you inside. So there's that. And there's a shadow going across. I'm not going to get too involved in the doorways right now. But we do need to start building our light and shadow patterns. So let's start here. There's my lavender again. It's in the shadow. Your shadows are generally cool with a little bit of warmth. Let's go back to this burnt sienna light. I'm going to put some of that in here. And come on down with that. So this whole shape is in the shadow, and I can come back in with darker darks. As we figure that out. So yeah, let's just go for it. And I notice the shadow comes down and around and up and across and over here. So I'm just going to fill that in, make it simple. The same thing with the other side. Some of that burnt sienna. Come down into this door. Here's the lavender. This actually comes all the way down to the post. And let's use a little bit of the lilac. I sure like that. Or wisteria. Wisteria is maybe my new favorite color. It's nice and cool. This is a post that comes across to keep you from falling off. Okay, I would like to get some darker greens in here. I'm using rich green gold and then a touch of green apatite genuine. Is nice and dark and is more earthy than sap green. So I stopped using sap green a few years ago. You can bring in that rich green gold again, and then I'll tie it in with the sap replacement, which is green apatite. Now notice there's a little bit of light around some of this. That gives your plant some sparkle. And you don't want the same brush strokes over and over again, so be aware of what your marks are. I do like the lavender. It's a very important color for me. Let's see, and bring some of that along the base. And here's that burnt sienna light again. I still want more color on this side of the pot. There we go. You're getting the late afternoon sun right now. I decided to stay inside because it is windy. We have the mistral winds giving us a challenging time. All right, let's stop with that and let it dry. So I'm liking the lavender and lilac colors because they can sit on top of the paint. and because they're opaque, so you can paint over something and still see it. I could play with these flower pots for hours. I love doing flowers, but I need to get away from those. So let's see. I can stop now. All right, let's go into the window panes. Same with those nice warm dark colors. I'm going to keep working with purples. What happens when we mix this Payne's blue gray with some quinacridone lilac? Whoa, look at that purple. That's serious. I don't know that I want all my windows to be that purple, but that's a pretty exciting color. I may have to put a few spots of that color in the flowers. Wow, I'm liking it now. Here. This actually comes all the way down here. And to vary it, I will put in some of that permanent brown. So I'm just dropping some color into those window panes, and hopefully I'm close because I don't always see them perfectly. Some of that beautiful lilac, quinacridone lilac mixed with the Payne's blue gray. It was a really pretty color. So I'm going to go with that. And what you'll start to see are these shutters. Now the sun's coming out, so you're getting a little bit of a shadow, but I'm just going to keep going with it. I hope you don't mind. Here is lavender. Oh, stick a little lavender in there for variation. You'll hear me say variation a lot because I want to break away from trying to do it perfectly and have flat color everywhere. I want to get away from the flat color. Let's see here. I want you to just be able to see those shapes. And I will bring in a little bit of nice thick lavender. It's so thick because it's new on the palette, and so it's pretty excited to be out. And it's coming out almost like oil paint, so I need to calm down a little bit. I do like to vary the colors in the windows so you get a sense of some kind of reflection. There we go. So now that I have an idea where the doors are, I can go a little darker up in here. This one section, remember it's fairly dark. And I'm going to use a little bit of that lavender again. With that color, burnt permanent brown. Okay, so a little lavender, a little permanent brown. And now I want to bring this shadow shade down here. And around and down again. I'd like to do some detailing with the colors that we already have. This is permanent brown that I've mixed up. And I'm going to use the point of this brush to put in some line work. Now you can do this with a marker, which I do a lot in my sketchbooks. But here, it's just kind of handy to use my brush and trust my lines. They're not perfect. Notice I jump to give it a break. This is getting too important right there, so I'm gonna push it back. Okay, so let's use some of that burnt sienna light, which I'm really liking. Thank you, Daniel Smith. And sometimes I like to put a little more color at the base. Just weighs it down a bit. I'm just adding a little character. Okay. And I kind of drew in some of those rock shapes. So I may put some in, go around the edges of some lost and found lines, give it character. Raw sienna light, that's a pretty sunny color. There we go. A little bit more of this burnt sienna. Now see what's happened with the underpainting? It's starting to come through and having some light and shadow, which can be exciting if you don't go too far. Let's see. I was working my way around with the line work, and notice I changed my color about every inch to give it some variety. This, like I said, this brush has a great ability to do line work. So I'm taking advantage of that. Sometimes I just add color to the outside. Sometimes I add a little bit of color to the inside, and that starts to help the rocks, those lighter rocks, to pop out. You know, a little lavender. Okay, lavender is my favorite right now. Here I am in Provence, and the lavender is not even close to blooming yet. I'm here in the spring, but I will be going to the Abbey, and we can grow some lavender. There we go. So now the window's starting to have some character. And, you know, my goal is not to make it look like exactly like the photograph, but to have fun with it. Let's see, this is wood. So I am going to give it a little bit of calligraphy so it looks more like wood. And now let's add some details to the doors and be just about done with this. And what I do here is, you know, I see color bounce around the page. So I may go in and decide, oh, it needs a little more of this or a little more of that, and drop it in, splatter. All right, the doors. I think I'll stop here for a minute. Okay, you want to put a little bit of that lavender right there. And let's do a little work around the outer edge. Now I tend to put in these lines and then I may mess them up. So I don't worry if they're just right. I'm happy with that in general. Now I'm just messing up some of my lines. And right in here, I need some of my darker greens. Maybe some bright cobalt, cobalt, teal blue. I'm thinking about that. I am going to put on some phthalo light. Lavender. Quinacridone violet. Yeah, these things. Just a little bit of that. Break that up. And put a little bit of that quinacridone lilac over here. I'm going to splatter just a little bit. It's too neat. It's too tidy. Sometimes I'll use another brush, but my hands pretty available. So what I've learned by being here in Provence is that to hear yourself, your thoughts, you need to be quiet and calm and in a safe place. And painting has a way of calming your soul and just letting you be where you are. I don't care if they all turn out or not. This may not be one of my favorites, but it's in my sketchbook. It's just for me. All right, I am in the fine-tune and finessing stage. I really want most of the light to be right around here. I do want to downplay this section, so I'm going to put a little color on that. And so now the light is hitting my pot and this, the flowers, and just this little area right here. Oh, I'm starting to get to the point that if I keep going, I will probably overwork it. Let's see. This needs a harder edge right along there. And noticing the more I look at it, I see little cracks and fun details I could add. Notice I clean out my paintbrush each time. I've pushed this back a little bit, so it's not so important. Keep going back to that lavender color. Oh, thank you, Daniel Smith. All right, now I want to lift some light out of the windows. So I have a paper towel. To lift the light out, all you need to do is run the brush across and then dab at it with a paper towel. And you can get the suggestion of reflections. All right, so I decided to push this back a bit. It was too important. And so I just messed it up and added some lavender detailing just to suggest what's back there. I have added a little bit of detail work. I'm almost finished. I just feel like this bottom area needs to be restated a bit with some lines, and or you can call it calligraphy. Sometimes you have too much, sometimes you have too little. Just keep working with it until you're comfortable with what you've got. And it's all very intuitive. There's no perfect answer. I do want some more splatter. What I like about the splatter is for me, it just gives it that fresh look that, I painted it all at once. I didn't labor over it. I got my drawing done, and it also hides any mistakes. I don't want you to get too involved in all the details. But with that, there is my little sketchbook window from Les Baux-de-Provence. And I hope you get a chance to go there someday. But if not, I'll take you there in my video. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. And thank you, Daniel Smith, for sharing this with you. I'm so happy you could be here. If you want to know more about my workshops and my artwork and my tours, just visit cindybriggs.com. And I hope that you'll find time to add tranquility and color to your life through art.